Chapter 61 Snake Catcher. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The 3 mature pine nuts of the first-grade red cloud pine were used to produce the second-grade Lihua sword, the basic talisman encyclopedia and the second-grade red thread needle. Both sword grass and dark marrow mushroom are second-grade, and they are not as common as red cloud pine. The light group rewards that are released when mature will definitely not disappoint me. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. In the next 2 or 3 days, he opened the fog-hidden formation and carefully observed the real-time status of many spiritual plants every day to ensure that there was no invasion of alienated spiritual insects. The remaining 26 fireflies have all matured in the past few days. Among them, 9 are of good quality, 13 are of superior quality, and the remaining 4 are of perfect quality. After the fireflies are picked, 26 white light clusters appear. 6 of them are cultivation rewards, 3 in 6 months, 2 in September, and 1 in 1 year, bringing a total of 4 years of cultivation to Lu Xuan. The meridians in his body and the spiritual energy in his dantian were like stormy waves, surging and impacting, and it took a long time to slowly calm down. Adding 4 years of cultivation out of thin air made Lu Xuan's strength a big step forward. Not far from the 7th level of Qi training, there are also 12 white light groups bringing 12 first-grade talismans, mainly sword energy talismans and evil-dispelling talismans, mixed with 2 or 3 other talismans such as the explosive flame talisman. There are more and more first-grade talismans accumulated in the storage bag. If he uses them all at once, Lu Xuan guesses that they will not be weaker than a full blow from a high-level Qi practitioner. In addition, there are 4 first-grade Peiyuan pills and 2 magic experience packs, namely Earth Yin Technique and Mu Xing Technique. Lu Xuan absorbed it and his understanding of the 2 techniques improved. There were 2 white light groups left. One produced a first-grade Peiyuan Dan recipe, and the other produced a drop of grass spirit essence liquid. Lu Xuan stuffed it into the grass tumor on the grass puppet's head. Celebrate that you have recovered completely. Next, you have to take good care of the spiritual field. After a while, the gray tumor on the grass puppet's head quickly turned green, and a new round of patrolling the spiritual field began. With the power provided by Chao Ling Yuan liquid, Lu Xuan felt that its steps were more powerful. Within a few days, the blood of snake monsters that had been ordered in Wanbao Tower arrived as promised. Lu Xuan spent 4 more spirit stones, plus the 3 spirit stones he paid previously as a deposit, to get a bottle of snake blood from Wanbao Tower. According to the pretty girl, this bottle of snake blood had just come out of the oven and was still relatively fresh. The blood inside came from a first-grade monster called the double-winged golden scale snake. The blood is contained in a transparent jade bottle, and the bright red blood sparkles with golden light, as if the setting sun is refracted in a sea of blood. Lu Xuan's transparent jade bottles came to Jiaoteng, open the cork and pour the golden blood inside onto the vines. Suddenly, the vines seemed to come alive in an instant, twisting gently like a snake, and golden blood slowly seeped into the inside of the vine. After all the blood was absorbed, Lu Xuan discovered that there were golden lines on the surface of the vines, forming strange patterns on the dark black dragon vines. Lu Xian's mind was focused on the dragon vine. I've been waiting for a long time and finally today. Finally tasted more delicious and stronger snake blood. That the dragon vine with golden lines was still swimming slowly, and seemed to be still immersed in the joy of absorbing the blood of the 2-winged golden-scaled snake. After about half an hour, the golden lines on the surface of the dragon vine slowly disappeared and turned into a winding dry vine again. After absorbing the blood of the non-grade black-lined snake last time, I remember that there was no change in the dragon vine. This time I absorbed the blood of the double-winged golden scale snake of the first grade. This golden pattern appeared. Will the quality of the snake blood be improved? Will it affect the different growth states of the dragon vine? Lu Xuan paid a little attention to see if he could get a large amount of this kind of snake blood from Wanbao Tower. If so, if he could irrigate it with the blood of the same monster type for a long time, the dragon vine might grow faster. He inspected all the spiritual plants in the spiritual field, used spells to meet the subtle needs of the spiritual plants, told the cloud-walking lynx and grass puppets to take good care of the house, opened the fog-hidden formation, and then brought a total of 39 spiritual fireflies. Grass, leave the yard. 100 fireflies were all mature, and he planned to go to the Baicaotang to get some more fireflies seeds to start a new round of planting. although the value of the spirit firefly grass and the rewards brought by the light group are nothing compared to other first and second grade spiritual plants, but so far, he has only discovered that Ling Yingwei has cultivation rewards, so he still has to plant a certain amount to ensure that his cultivation level can be improved. The quantity of Lingying grass is good, and the quality and quantity of blood jade ginseng and Qingmiao Lingcha are balanced. The sword grass obtained from unknown spiritual seeds, dark marrow ji, huanyan luogua, etc. are of good quality. A three-pronged approach to ensure quality and quantity. Get both. As soon as he went out, Lu Xuan saw the monk surnamed Wu not far from next door. He also saw Lu Xuan and greeted him immediately. "Friend Daoist Lu, where have you been? Come and try my newly brewed spiritual wine." Lu Xuan couldn't help but refuse his kindness and came to the home of the monk surnamed Wu. "Fellow Daoist Lu, come and taste my spiritual wine." As soon as they sat down, the monk surnamed Wu came over with a pot of dark yellow spirit brew and poured a cup for himself and Lu Xuan respectively. "I see outside fellow Daoist Lu's yard, a second-grade defensive formation has appeared in the past few days. Fellow Daoist is really willing to spend money." Lu Xuan took the spirit brew in his hand and took a sip. The taste was mellow and long, good wine. He sighed and put down his glass. "Fellow Daoist Wu must be aware that Fang City is becoming more and more dangerous now. There are always alienated monks appearing. Previously, they even infiltrated into Wang Shan, the patrolman of Fang City next door. In addition, I encountered a scene where monks invaded the spiritual field a long time ago. The spiritual plants in the spiritual field bear all my wealth, so I have to sacrifice my life to protect this family fortune." Lu Xuan casually brushed it off. The monk surnamed Wu nodded. "Indeed, there's nothing wrong with being careful. Come on, let's continue drinking. This spiritual wine is brewed from the gallbladder and bones of snake monsters. It's hard to drink on weekdays." "Yeah." Lu Xuan picked up the wine glass and suddenly made a movement in his hand. "Spiritual wine brewed from snake bones and gallbladders doesn't require a large number of snake monsters. Where do those snake gallbladders and snake bones come from?" Thinking of this, Lu Xuan asked the monk surnamed Wu directly. "Fellow Daoist Wu, I have something to ask you. Where does the snake bone and gallbladder brewed by Daoist come from? Is it Wanbao building, another shop, or a casual cultivator market?" "Neither." The monk surnamed Wu shook his head. "It's difficult to collect a certain amount of snake monsters of the same species in the casual cultivator market, and the ones in Wanbao Tower are a bit more expensive, so it's not very cost-effective. I got this from a good friend." "Friend?" Lu Xuan's eyes lit up. "Yes, I have been a friend for many years. His family has a secret technique passed down from generation to generation. He has miraculous abilities in discovering and capturing snake demons. Now I am at the 6th level of Qi training. With this secret technique, I can even kill second-grade snake-like monsters. Can you introduce me to Lu? I am in urgent need of some kind of material from the snake monster." "Can." The monk surnamed Wu answered directly. Chapter 62 Booking the Blood of the Green Water Python. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Without further ado, Wu Daoyu, why don't you take me to your good friend's house now? Lu Xuan put down the wine glass in his hand and looked at the monk named Wu expectantly. "I don't know if he is at home now. But fellow Daoist Lu is so anxious, it must be something important, so I will take you there." The monk surnamed Wu saw that Lu Xuan was like this and he had more free time, so he took Lu Xuan out and went to the home of the snake-catching monk. After walking for about 2 minutes, the two came to a blue and black stone house. The stone house is quite spacious, but it feels cold when you get closer. Lu Xuan followed the monk surnamed Wu into the stone house. His skin was stimulated by the cold breath, and he couldn't help but develop dense goosebumps. As soon as they entered, a green python came out and stopped not far from the two of them, hissing and spitting out snake messages. "Xiao Lu, come back, it's Uncle Wu." A slightly childish voice came from inside the stone house. Immediately, the the voice turned into a hissing whisper, and the green python in front of Lu Xuan turned into a green light and returned the same way. A boy of 13 or 14 years old walked out of it, and the python instantly got into the boy's sleeve. Although the python is huge, from the outside there is no sign that there is a python hidden in the boy's thin body, as if the two are integrated into one. Only then did Lu Xuan see the young man's appearance clearly. He was thin and pale, his eyes were narrowed into two slits, and his lips were extremely thin. When he smiled at the monk surnamed Wu, he revealed the slightly sharp teeth inside. "Uncle Wu, my father is out. Grandpa and I are the only ones at home." "I know, I came here today because of other things." The monk surnamed Wu introduced Lu Xuan and the young man, and Lu Xuan learned that the young man's name was Yu Jie. The three of them, grandfather and grandson, lived together. His father was away from home for many years, hunting snakes and monsters for a living. Grandpa is raising little snakes in the backyard. That the young man Yu Jie looked at Lu Xuan curiously, walked into the backyard very sensibly, and called his grandfather out. "Uncle Yu Tong, this is my neighbor, a spiritual planter, named Lu Xuan. Friend Lu Dao, this old man is my good friend's father, Senior Yu Tong." Lu Xuan saluted and greeted. The two followed the old man into the room and sat down. The young man Yu Jie came in with 3 cups of hot tea, and then sat obediently in the corner without saying a word, looking at Lu Xuan curiously from time to time. The look in his eyes made Lu Xuan feel extremely strange, as if he was being stared at by a poisonous snake, but he didn't feel any malice, only pure curiosity. Seeing Lu Xuan look back at him, he lowered his head shyly. "Uncle Yu Tong, senior brother Yu has gone out, right?" "Yes, he went to the wilderness. When he comes back, remember to come and get fresh snake bones and gallbladder," the old man said slowly. "Don't worry about that. This time, it's me, the neighbor monk, who came here to ask about something." The monk surnamed Wu expressed his intention. "I heard that my uncles have been catching snakes for a living for generations and have unique secret skills in hunting snake monsters. I would like to ask, how is the blood of the snake monster usually treated?" "Snake monster blood? This is not widely used. Only when you meet monks with special needs, or the blood of the snake beasts you kill has a certain value, will you bring the snake blood back." Lu Xuan nodded. The old man continued. "Because blood needs to be kept as fresh as possible and cannot be stored for a long time, it is not brought back often. Usually it is used as a material for alchemists to refine some special elixirs, or occasionally monks need the blood of snake monsters to practice their skills." "What grade are the snake monsters usually hunted? Can the number of hunted monsters be guaranteed for a long time?" "Most of them are non-grade and first-grade snake monsters, and there are also second-grade snake monsters. As for the number, you don't have to worry about this. We have mastered several monster snake habitats in the wilderness. They are inaccessible and there are more snake beasts." Lu Xuan nodded and felt relieved. "It's like this. I need a long-term and quantitative supply of snake blood, preferably first grade or above, second grade even better. As for the third-level snake demon, there is no need to think about it. The third-level snake demon is already equivalent to a foundation-building monk. Even if one is found in the wilderness, the snake catcher with the 6th level of chi training will only end up delivering food. Second-grade snake-like monsters, let me think about it. There is a green anaconda with red blood with green tints. It can be used to refine some kind of antidote pill. What do you think?" Yu Tong thought for a while and said to Lu Xuan. "As long as it can be provided over the long term, there will be no problem. After being watered with snake blood, the dragon vine will produce abnormal changes." Lu Xuan estimated that if it is cultivated for a long time with a certain kind of snake blood containing special characteristics, it may not only promote the rapid growth of the dragon vine, but also bring about unexpected changes. It is still possible to provide them for a long time, but the quantity will not be particularly large. After all, the number of second-grade green anacondas is not very large, and it is somewhat difficult to deal with them. "I wonder what the price is," Lu Xuan asked curiously. 10 spirit stones per pound, what do you think? The old man asked tentatively. Lu Xuan almost couldn't control his expression. The small bottle of double-winged golden-scaled snake blood he got from Wanbao Tower a while ago cost him a full 7 spirit stones, although the price is slightly higher because it is a pre-order. 7 spiritual stones can buy a bottle of first-grade snake blood that is less than 1 pound, and 10 spiritual stones can buy 1 pound of second-grade snake demon snake blood. Which one is more cost-effective at a glance? The middlemen still make a lot of money. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The snake blood material itself was of extremely low value, but after Wanbao's treatment, the price increased by an unknown amount. Buying raw materials directly from the producer Yu's family can save a lot of spiritual stones than buying from other channels. What's more, second-grade snake blood can be provided to himself stably, which makes it difficult for Lu Xuan, who likes to bargain, to be generous. Okay, alright. He nodded directly in agreement. Next to them, Yu Tong and the young man Yu Jie couldn't help but smile with satisfaction on their faces. In the past, when hunting snake monsters, unless the monks had specific requirements, the snake blood brought back would not fetch a good price. It was often unsaleable and had to be thrown away. Only first or second grade blood could be sold. Some prices, 10 spirit stones of the blood of a second-grade jade python can make a lot more money than before. The little risk brought by hunting the second-grade snake demon is nothing compared to the benefit of the spiritual stones. In addition, the precious snake skin, snake bones, snake gallbladder, and snake venom of the second-grade green anaconda. The old Yutong wanted to return to his peak and experience the feeling of hunting a second-grade snake monster. The two parties made a simple contract. The Yu family currently did not have second-grade green water python blood. Lu Xuan left 5 spirit stones as a deposit. When Yu Jie's father came back, he would send the green water python blood and pay the remaining spirit stones. Before leaving, the old man Yutong also deliberately took out a non-grade demon snake from the inner courtyard, killed it and took it, filled a bottle full of snake blood, and asked Lu Xuan to take it back with him no matter what. Lu Xuan declined in every possible way, but he couldn't refuse, so he had to accept the bottle of snake blood. Chapter 63 Diseased Spiritual Plant. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the two came out of the Yu family, Lu Xuan parted ways with the monk surnamed Wu and went to Baichao Hall. In Baichao Hall, the strong medicinal fragrance permeates every corner, giving people a refreshing feeling as soon as they enter. Boy Lu, you finally showed up. I've been looking for you for a long time. Manager he grabbed Lu Xuan's arm and spoke hastily. I just sent the medicine boy to your house, but I couldn't find him. Fortunately, you're here by yourself now. He Lao, what happened? Lu Xuan's expression condensed. He knew that the old man would not send someone to look for him at home unless there was something urgent. Has anything unusual happened to your spiritual field recently? The thin old man looked around and saw that no one was paying attention, so he asked softly. When I was taking care of the spiritual plants a few days ago, I found some spiritual insects. They are quite different from those recorded in the books. I wonder if there is a mutation. Lu Xuan told the truth. That's it. Not only your spiritual field, but also other spiritual planters in Baichao Hall, and even the spiritual fields in the entire city have this kind of situation. Some people speculate that the evil spirits that came in from Fengshe were too many and too strong, and they unknowingly polluted Fengshe's spiritual veins, making the spiritual energy turbid and causing the insects to mutate. In order to reduce losses, the alchemists in the hall decided to summon all the spiritual planters who cooperated with Baichao Hall to discuss a solution. What the thin old man said made Lu Xuan look solemn. You don't have to worry. This is a major event that all spiritual planters and even all monks in the city are closely related to. We won't leave it alone. You just need to follow their actions. Seeing that Lu Xuan's face was so heavy, manager he comforted him. When will the small meeting be held? It's going to be a while, please wait here. Lu Xuan nodded, and when his mind calmed down, he handed the 39 mature firefly grasses in his hand to the thin old man. It's still the original price, 3 spiritual stones of good quality cost 50 spiritual fragments, each top quality stone costs 20 spiritual fragments, and a perfect quality spiritual stone costs 4 spiritual stones per plant, 14 plants of good quality, 19 plants of superior quality, and 6 plants of perfect quality brought a total of 143 spiritual stones and 30 broken spirits to Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan's net worth suddenly returned to more than 300. He saw more and more spiritual planters entering the back room, so he followed them in. In the spacious hall, there were 10 or 20 spiritual planters who had cooperative relations with Baicaotang Hall. Most of them were unknown to Lu Xuan, and only a few of them had ever dealt with them. Lu Xuan's entry attracted the attention of some monks because he was too young. If you want to be a good spiritual planter, you must have rich planting experience. Among the monks present, whether they were dedicated to cultivating spiritual plants for Baicaotang or those who had established a relatively open cooperative relationship, the youngest was over 40. Sitting in the crowd, Lu Xuan felt like he stood out from the crowd. There are monks inside who have heard of Lu Xuan's reputation and know that although he mainly grows non-grade firefly grass and first-grade blood jade ginseng for Baicaotang, the cultivation rate is extremely high and even has perfect quality. The spiritual plant, therefore, monks came over one after another, established friendship, and became familiar with each other. After a while, all the spiritual planters arrived, and a long-bearded monk wearing a green shirt came over. He glanced at all the spiritual planters present, and paused slightly when passing Lu Xuan. I, He Zongguang, am an ordinary alchemist in Baicaotang Hall. You must have heard about it. Everyone present here, whether working full-time or freely in the hall, is the best among spiritual planters. I have called you here because I want to inform you of a major event involving the interests of all spiritual planters. Seeing that the attention of all the spiritual planters was attracted to him, the long-bearded monk nodded and continued. Come in, you may have heard something, or witnessed with your own eyes the unknown changes in the spiritual plants you planted. As the number of alienated monks increases, the evil spirits that sneak into the city become more and more arrogant and domineering, and the spiritual fields are slowly experiencing adverse changes. The insects that have sneaked into the spiritual fields have become more aggressive and destructive, and some spiritual plants have also developed inexplicable lesions, such as these two. The bearded monk took out 2 abnormal spiritual plants from his robe. A blood jade ginseng that Lu Xuan once planted has patches of gray and white areas on the ginseng body where it was originally crystal clear, like the accumulation of countless tiny gravels. The long-bearded monk gently touched a gray-white area. Suddenly, the gray-white area of the blood jade ginseng in his hand cracked silently and turned into fine sand and scattered on the ground. There was another spiritual plant that Lu Xuan had never seen before. The main body of the spiritual plant was a blood-colored leaf. At this moment, there are patches of black hair growing on the leaves. Countless hairs are crowded together and floating gently, like patches of mold. These are 2 spiritual plants that have become diseased. The cause is unknown. The diseased areas have caused irreversible damage to the spiritual plants. Moreover, the lesions may become contagious. If they are transmitted to each other, the spiritual plants in the large spiritual field will be destroyed. The bearded monk said seriously. In order to avoid affecting the spiritual plants cultivated by everyone and thus affecting the alchemy of Baicaotang, I would like to make 2 suggestions here. First, be careful, strengthen prevention awareness, and strengthen protective measures. You can set up defensive formations to keep the alienated demonic insects out of the spiritual field, and you can also use corresponding techniques to monitor the growth of spiritual plants. It is best to observe several times a day to avoid alienation and contamination of spiritual plants. The second is to work together to come up with a solution to the diseased spiritual plant. You all have your own unique skills in cultivating spiritual plants, and it must be easier to find ways to prevent or solve diseases. If it is feasible and effective, Baicaotang will definitely give you generous rewards. The spiritual planters present either closed their eyes and meditated, or discussed with each other, and came up with several solutions, but they could only treat the symptoms and not the root cause of the problem. Lu Xuan sat in the corner, thinking about it, and a strange idea came to his mind. I don't know if I can see the real-time status of this diseased spiritual plant after I take it back and plant it in my spiritual field. The more he thought about it, the more he thought it was feasible. He would plant spiritual seeds or seedlings in the spiritual field, and cultivate them to maturity little by little, thereby obtaining a white light group, which could give various rewards. Among them, there are several factors that affect the reward of the light group, such as whether Lu Xuan cultivated the spiritual plant throughout the growth period, the grade of the spiritual plant itself, and its quality after cultivation, etc. If you take a diseased spiritual plant back and successfully plant it, it would be great if you could see its immediate state. Use this to cultivate it to maturity. Although you don't put much effort in the growth process, the light group rewards may not be or only have basic rewards, but the restored spiritual plant itself is of great value. We must get 1 or 2 diseased spiritual plants and go back to the spiritual field for experiments. Lu Xuan thought secretly. Chapter 64. There is no hope, just wait to die. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When he returned to the lobby of Baicaotang, Lu Xuan came to Guanshi He. Mr. He, all the 100 firefly seeds planted last time have been picked. Please go and get some more for me. This time it's 120. Lu Xuan paused and said, although the spirit fire grass is of no rank, its value is much lower than other spiritual plants in the spirit field, and the white light group rewards it produces are also much smaller, but there is no way. So far, it is the only one that can produce cultivation rewards. Therefore, Lu Xuan not only stopped planting, but also slightly expanded the output. However, due to the limited area of the spiritual field, his refined cultivation requires more spiritual power, so he cannot plant as he wishes. 120 is already the maximum number that can be cultivated after a breakthrough in cultivation. The thin old man nodded, walked into the hall, took out 120 slender and dry spiritual seeds, and handed them to Lu Xuan. It was still a cooperation price, which was 20 to 30% cheaper than normal purchase. 120 firefly grass seeds cost Lu Xuan 36 spirit stones. Mr. He, I have something to ask of you. After handing over the spirit stone, Lu Xuan said with an eager smile. Looking at your sly look, I know it's not a good thing. Tell me. Manager He, who had long been accustomed to Lu Xuan's routine, sighed and said. Just now, many spiritual plant masters from Baichao Hall gathered together. Alchemist He Zongguang reminded us that our little spiritual plants were invaded and polluted by evil insects, and he also took out 2 invaded spiritual plants. You are always one of the talkers in Baicaotang. Can you hand over those 2 polluting spiritual plants to me? What do you want with that thing? That's not a good thing. The thin old man looked serious. I have an immature idea. I want to take it back and do experiments to see if I can find out the cause of the intrusion and contamination and how to solve it. Are you confused? If you take 2 diseased spiritual plants into your spiritual field, aren't you afraid that the spiritual plants inside will be contaminated by them? Manager He's expression changed and he scolded Lu Xuan. Don't worry, Mr. He. Since I want to take it back, I have a certain degree of confidence. At least there will be no chance that the spiritual plants I planted will be contaminated. Lu Xuan knew in his heart that the old man cared about him, so he replied solemnly. When Guanshi He saw Lu Xuan like this, he had no choice but to take the 2 diseased spiritual plants from the back room. Take care of yourself, and you must be careful not to let the spiritual plants in the spiritual field be at risk of infection. Otherwise, at the cost of giving up your cultivation, the spiritual plants you have worked so hard to plant may be destroyed overnight and turn into nothing. I will. Lu Xuan took the 2 diseased spiritual plants and did not put them into storage bags. Instead, he wrapped them in cloth bags and quickly returned to his yard. As soon as the courtyard door was opened, a black shadow flashed through the crack of the door. The cloud-stepping lynx stared motionlessly at the 3 red-whiskered carp in the Lingquan pond. Only the 2 tufts of gray hair on its pointed ears trembled slightly. Lu Xuan's movements. I'm back. Lu Xuan pretended not to notice its figure waiting behind the door and said hello. The cloud-walking lynx turned its head gracefully upon hearing the sound, glanced at Lu Xuan indifferently with a pair of green eyes, and continued to focus on the red-bearded carp in the spiritual spring pool. Lu Xuan's mind focused on it, feeling the joy in its heart, and a smile couldn't help but appear on the corner of his mouth. In the distance, the grass puppets with a hint of green left on the grass knots were still patrolling the spiritual field tirelessly. The 2 new legs they had just knitted were quite useful, and they still walked steadily despite their huge heads. Lu Xuan found a blank area in the corner of the spiritual field, which was a certain distance away from other spiritual plants. At the same time, with a thought, the thick fog that filled the yard slowly moved over, enclosing the blank area he selected. Live, after being able to grasp the instant status of the spiritual plants, he was indeed quite confident that the spiritual plants he planted would not be contaminated by diseased spiritual plants. However, he still had to be careful. After confirming that the thick fog completely surrounded the empty area, Lu Xuan took out 2 diseased spiritual plants, used the earth drawing technique, and placed them into the cracks in the spiritual soil, then control the spiritual soil and tightly surround the roots of the 2 spiritual plants. After doing all this, his mind first focused on the blood jade ginseng with the gray-white gravel area. Sure enough, a thought emerged from Lu Xuan's mind. Inhaling excessive amounts of polluted and turbid spiritual energy will cause unknown changes. Brightling milk needs to be dropped on the contaminated area to restore its vitality. Centennial milk. Lu Xuan pulled out the diseased blood jade ginseng buried in the spiritual soil. There is no hope, just wait to die. Just kidding, saving a first-grade blood jade ginseng actually requires some 100-year-old milk. Spiritual milk is rare to begin with, let alone one that is hundreds of years old. Lu Xuan immediately judged the pros and cons without thinking. A golden sword energy surrounded the diseased blood jade ginseng and cut it into 10 small sections. Then, a fireball technique fell on the broken blood jade ginseng. After a few breaths, it burned into black and gray. It seems that my inference is still feasible. By transplanting the spiritual plants in the growth stage into the spiritual field, you can control their real-time status. However, because you did not plant and cultivate them with your own hands, it is very likely that there will be no light group reward. Even if there is one, it probably won't be able to produce anything good. However, this in itself is an ability that can be explored deeply. If used properly, it can also bring considerable benefits. Lu Xuan thought secretly and focused his attention on another bloody leaf. The rhizome of this spiritual plant is extremely small, and the blood-colored leaves occupy most of the area. A thought flashed through Lu Xuan's mind. Blood spirit leaf, a first-grade spiritual plant, has alienated black budworm larvae in its leaves. It is necessary to cut and purify the alienated worm threads on the leaves, then remove the alienated larvae inside the leaves, and finally water them with spiritual springs. It will take a while to completely return to normal. This one can be saved. Lu Xuan thought in his mind that although the recovery process of the blood spirit leaf in front of him was troublesome, and even if there was any profit in the end, it would not be much. Lu Xuan was only using it for experiments, and the focus was on accumulating relevant experience. He used his spiritual power, and a thin golden sword energy, as thick as a hair, cut off the numerous black hairs on the surface of the blade. Countless tiny fluff fell to the ground, bouncing slightly and making a desperate struggle. After cleaning off the black fluff, there are still large and small moldy patches on the leaves, which looks extremely ugly. Lu Xuan controlled the golden sword wire, cut off the moldy parts, and then carefully probed into the inside of the leaf. With the help of the real-time state, his spiritual sense controlled the sword energy to pull out a few thin black larvae from inside. As soon as the larvae came out, they turned into black threads and tried to attack Lu Xuan. Before they could get closer, Lu Xuan cut them into countless pieces, and a fireball landed, turning them all into black ashes. After getting rid of the alienated black budworm, Lu Xuan was cautious and used another evil-dispelling talisman. A faint pure spiritual light swept around the blood spirit leaf, cleaning up any evil aura that might remain. Chapter 65 Innocent Jade. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The pure spiritual light did not cause any abnormal movement. Lu Xuan was relieved and scooped a small bowl of spiritual spring water from the spiritual spring pool and poured it on the severely damaged blood spirit leaf. The blood spirit leaf greedily absorbs the spiritual spring, its wide leaves hang down lazily, and the leaf tips gently touch the surface of the spiritual soil. Finally, the disease problem of this blood spirit leaf has been solved. Lu Xuan returned to the house, his thoughts wandering. This not only means that he can not only solve the problem of invasion and contamination of spiritual plants planted by his own hands, but also deal with other diseased spiritual plants, provided that he brings them into his own spiritual field and plants them. Although spiritual plants are not cultivated from the beginning and the light group rewards are almost non-existent, if this method is used properly, it can still bring a lot of benefits to oneself. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt happy. After thinking about it for a while, he came to the spiritual field with 120 firefly grass seeds. Planting and cultivating spiritual plants and obtaining white light groups is the right way. Since the 100 fireflies matured, a large area of the spiritual field has become vacant. Lu Xuan used the earth drawing technique, and the tiny cracks in the spiritual soil were just enough to accommodate the slender and dry firefly seeds. More than 100 firefly grass seeds were buried under the seeds. Lu Xuan used a round of spiritual rain technique to cover the entire firefly grass seed area. Threads of spiritual rain seeped into the spiritual soil, fully nourishing the slender spiritual seeds. After planting the firefly grass, Lu Xuan took advantage of the situation and inspected the spiritual field. The second-grade sword grass has grown to about 3 feet tall, standing upright like a sharp sword pointing toward the sky. There are many subtle sword auras swimming around the sword grass, and densely packed tiny sword marks can be seen in the spiritual soil underneath. Lu Xuan smoothly hit a Gengjin sword technique, and the golden sword energy traveled through Jiancao's body, leaving light golden lines, under the specially built wooden shed. The second-grade dark marrow mushroom was planted at the same time. The dark red hyphae extending out almost occupied the entire wooden shed. Lu Xuan could vaguely see the inside of the dark marrow mushroom. The dark red viscous liquid flowed from the blood vessel-like channels. Gurgling flow, the white smoke surrounding Huanyan Luogua occupies an increasingly larger area, almost reaching 1.5 feet long, and its concentration is getting higher and higher, hiding the smoke-like spiritual plants in the depths. The spiritual consciousness was greatly affected by the smoke. It took Lu Xuan a while to find it. A spiritual rain technique accurately hit the spiritual plant and nourished it. 3 Qingmialing tea plants have sprouted many thin green buds on their intertwined tea branches. Compared with the winding and powerful old roots, the buds look even more isolated and independent. 21st grade blood jade ginseng plants are also growing in pretty good condition. They have been planted for nearly half a year and are not long before they mature. As for Jiaotang, after digesting the bottle of double-winged golden-scaled snake blood, he looked half dead again. He could only rely on Lu Xuan to use the spiritual rain technique to survive. Time passed quickly, and 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. 120 firefly seeds planted broke out of the ground one after another, growing into tiny buds. The buds are very inconspicuous. Only if you look carefully can you find that they are swaying gently in the breeze, looking fragile. However, Lu Xuan felt a high-spirited power from their weak bodies, which made people feel a strong vitality and a good mood. After inspecting the spiritual field and confirming that all the spiritual plants were in good condition, Lu Xuan was about to go back to the house when he suddenly heard a knock on the door outside. Opening the courtyard door, it was the young man named Yu Jie, holding a white jade bottle in his hand. "Senior Lu, I'm here to give you the blood of the green anaconda." When the pale boy saw Lu Xuan, he said with a smile, showing his sharp teeth, "Thank you for your hard work, come in." Lu Xuan introduced the young man into the courtyard. Suddenly, a black shadow fell in front of the young man. The cloud-riding lynx stared at Yu Jie's neck with green eyes, and circled slowly. The boy's clothes suddenly swelled up, and a big green snake emerged from the gap between his neck and clothes. Its head moved with the movements of the cloud-walking lynx, making hissing sounds from time to time. "Stay aside for me." When Lu Xuan saw the reaction of the cloud-walking lynx at first, he thought it had discovered something evil in the young man, but the lynx cub did not let out the rough roar before, so he felt relieved. The pale boy Yu Jie also restrained the green snake hidden in his body. After the 2 spirit beasts calmed down, Lu Xuan took Yu Jie into the house and sat down. "Senior Lu, this is a whole bottle of green anaconda blood." Excluding the weight of the bottle itself, The snake blood is slightly more than 1 kilogram. However, the price will still be settled at the previously set price. The young man handed the white jade bottle in his hand to Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan took it in his hand and shook it slightly to confirm that what the young man said was true. The weight of the snake blood inside was indeed slightly more than 1 kilogram. Okay, I received it. These are the remaining 5 spirit stones. When your father catches another green anaconda, you will bring the collected snake blood over, and I will give you the spirit stone. Lu Xuan nodded with satisfaction and said to the young man, Yu Jie took the 5 spirit stones handed over by Lu Xuan, and his small eyes narrowed into slits with a smile. He carefully hid the 5 spirit stones in his clothes, bowed and thanked Lu Xuan, and then left. Lu Xuan opened the cork of the bottle, and there was a mixture of red and green liquid flowing inside, and there was a strong and strange fragrance. He carefully poured the red and green liquid on the dragon vine. Suddenly, the dragon vine came to life, clinging tightly to the red and green mixed liquid dripping on the vine, greedily sucking it up. After a while, green patterns appeared on the vines, exuding a coquettish aura against the black vines. With the green water python blood provided by the Yu family, the dragon vine can finally be cultivated in a long-term and stable manner. When he came to the red cloud pine, the last 2 pine nuts of the red cloud pine were already ripe, 2 pine nuts, one of high quality and one of perfect quality. It is also the only pine nut with perfect quality among the 5 red cloud pine nuts. 2 white light groups appeared at the site where the pine nuts were picked, flickering slightly, and countless slender needles could not hide its presence. Lu Xuan gently picked up the first white light group, which was the one of high quality. Harvest a red cloud pine nut and obtain a volume of basic talisman encyclopedia. A thought flashed through his mind, and he immediately learned more about the material processing of talismans, drawing of runes, etc. An experience package, basic talismans, from entry to proficiency. 5 red cloud pine nuts appeared in 2 volumes of basic talisman encyclopedia, and Lu Xuan's understanding of dozens of basic first-grade talismans was further improved. It's just that whether it's alchemy or talisman painting, it's a skill that consumes a lot of spiritual stones in the early stage. The failure rate is extremely high, and you trade at a loss just to gain more relevant experience. Therefore, Lu Xuan did not plan to draw the talisman in a hurry, and would wait until he absorbed a few more experience packs. The second white light group was also left with perfect quality red cloud pine nuts, and Lu Xuan was even more looking forward to it. A thought flashed through his mind, and a transparent jade talisman appeared in his hand. Everything under the transparent jade talisman is clearly visible, as if a layer of filter has been added. Everything it passes through is clear, bright and clean. Innocent jade, a 3rd-grade auxiliary treasure, can make the mind pure and wise, and can resist the invasion and pollution of evil spirits. Wearing it for a long time will slightly enhance the monk's spiritual consciousness. Chapter 66, A Mere Inferior Spiritual Plant. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. 3rd-grade auxiliary treasure, innocent jade. Lu Xuan held the transparent jade talisman in his hand and murmured to himself. I didn't expect that the light group brought by the 1st-grade red cloud pine would actually reveal a 3rd-grade treasure. He was a little surprised in his heart. You must know that the 3rd grade and the 2nd grade don't sound much different, but in fact there is a qualitative difference. The 2nd-grade treasures are still in the Qi training stage and are mainly used by mid-level and high-level monks in Qi training, while the 3rd-grade treasures are already in the foundation building category. It is estimated that perfect quality accounts for a large part of the factor, but the higher the level of the spiritual plant, the harder it is to obtain a mature spiritual plant of perfect quality. I was lucky this time, and one of the 5 red cloud pine nuts was of perfect quality. Lu Xuan guessed, although the 3rd-grade clean jade mainly serves a supporting role, it is extremely rare and valuable. It can guard against the invasion of evil spirits. This function alone can cause countless monks to rob it. You must know that the world of spiritual practice is full of dangers, and evil spirits invade monks in all kinds of strange and silent ways. With this stainless steel jade, you can resist to a certain extent the invasion and contamination of evil spirits even at the mysterious level, not to mention, long-term wearing of innocent jade can also add a little spiritual awareness to the monks. In addition to the natural growth of spiritual consciousness during breakthroughs and promotions, there are few other ways to improve it. Generally, it is extremely rare special skills, high-grade elixirs, or certain heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Recently, Lu Xuan felt the undercurrent of the already unsafe city. The monks who were constantly alienated, and even Wang Shan, the little leader of the law enforcement hall, were poisoned by evil spirits. Recently, contaminated insects appeared, and the souls were poisoned. There are various signs that the city is becoming riddled with holes, with more and more evil cultivators and evil spirits surrounding it like leeches, sucking blood. The appearance of Wushuo Jade can at least allow Lu Xuan to avoid evil spirits from harming him and protect himself wisely. As for the rest, he will leave it to the big families and powerful forces in the city. For the current Lu Xuan, planting spiritual plants is more important. He found a small red rope and tied the transparent jade talisman to his chest. A cold and refreshing feeling came from his chest, which kept Lu Xuan's mind clear. The invisible and colorless light on the jade talisman swept away the turbid aura from his body. If all 5 pine nuts produced by a first-grade red pine are harvested, the spiritual plant will lose its effect. According to Lu Xuan's understanding, spiritual plants are generally divided into 3 types. The first type is one-time maturity, which loses its effectiveness after maturity. This type is more common among low-grade spiritual plants, such as the previously picked spirit fireweed, moon eclipse fruit, and the current red cloud pine. The second type has a certain growth period. During this period, spiritual fruits, spiritual leaves, etc. will mature regularly. Among the spiritual plants currently planted, Lu Xuan estimates that the second-grade Qingmiao Ling tea belongs to the second type. The last type is vintage spiritual plants. The older they are, the stronger the effectiveness of the spiritual plants. These are generally high-grade spiritual plants. Of course, there are all kinds of strange spiritual plants, and Lu Xuan cannot guarantee whether other types of spiritual plants will appear. He put 2 red cloud pine nuts together with 3 others, planning to find an opportunity to sell them. Pine nuts are rich in spiritual power and have a unique and wonderful taste. They are especially popular among female cultivators. The best ones in Lu Xuan's hands are of good quality. He estimates that he can sell them for a good price in the next few days. In addition to the normal cultivation of spiritual plants, raising red-whiskered carp and cloud-walking lynx, Lu Xuan focused on the dragon vine and the blood spirit leaf that gradually returned to normal. The green water python is worthy of being a second-grade monster, and its effectiveness is much stronger than the double-winged golden-scaled snake blood bought from Wanbao Tower, after the red and green blood was poured on the dragon vine. It took more than a day for those green patterns to gradually disappear. 1 pound of green anaconda blood can last for more than 10 days. Lu Xuan estimated that this was still a bit stressful for Yu Jie's father. After all, although they had the secret technique of hunting snake monsters, they were only at the 5th level of Qi training, and they could not hunt large numbers of second-grade monsters for a long time. Under Lu Xuan's careful care, the blood spirit leaf has recovered to a certain extent, but there are scar-like marks on the wide leaves, which looks a bit uncoordinated. It was already almost mature, so Lu Xuan simply picked it, and as expected, no white light group appeared. The quality of the picked blood spirit leaves was inferior. It was the first time that a spirit plant of this quality appeared in the spirit field. Lu Xuan didn't take it to heart. After all, being able to restore it was probably pretty good, and he didn't spend much thought or time on carefully cultivating it. The diseased blood spirit leaf was successfully recovered. Lu Xuan put it into the storage bag and couldn't wait to come to Baichao Hall. There are 20 or 30 spiritual planters working with Baicaotang, and they don't have Lu Xuan's ability to grasp the status of spiritual plants at any time. They can only defend passively, so the number of spiritual plants with disease will naturally be greater. As soon as he entered Baicaotang, manager he who was counting the elixirs on the counter saw Lu Xuan. "Boy Lu, there's nothing wrong with the spiritual plants in your spiritual field, right?" "Thank you, Mr. He, for your concern. Everything is as usual. All the spiritual plants in the spiritual field show no signs of being invaded and contaminated." Hearing that the thin old man cared about him so much, Lu Xuan couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. As long as it's okay, what about the two diseased blood jade and blood spirit leaves? Have you found any clues in your research? Hearing Lu Xuan's words, manager he breathed a sigh of relief and asked. Lu Xuan smiled, said nothing, and took out a spiritual plant from his storage bag. The newly matured spiritual plants, please estimate the price. This is. The thin old man's eyes narrowed, although the spiritual plant in front of him looked ugly and was of poor quality. He, who was experienced, saw it at first glance as a blood spirit leaf. According to his understanding, the spiritual plants that Lu Xuan and Baicaotang cooperated with were Lingyiinko and blood jade ginseng, so everything was ready to come out. Did you really restore that severely diseased blood spirit leaf to normal? His tone was shocked. You must know that Baicaotang has more than one spiritual planter who can cultivate third-grade spiritual plants, but most of the time they are helpless when facing spiritual plants that are attacked and contaminated. Among them, the two spiritual plants that were taken out had serious lesions, and after several attempts, no improvement was achieved, and Lu Xuan, a casual spiritual planter, was able to restore one of the plants to normal, which surprised him. Ahem, he coughed softly to hide his gaffe. There are too many damaged parts of this spiritual plant, and the spiritual energy contained in it is lower than normal. It's just an inferior spiritual plant, so just accept the 25 spiritual stones. He couldn't see Lu Xuan looking so proud in front of him, so he pretended not to care and said calmly. Thank you very much, Mr. He. I originally thought about cooperating with you, old man, but since I don't like inferior spiritual plants, I have to forget it. Chapter 67 for the centenary cause of Baicaotang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cooperation. Why do you want to cooperate with a bad old man like me? Guanxi he handed the 25 spirit stones to Lu Xuan and asked curiously. There are 20 or 30 spiritual planters in Baichao Hall, which means there are more diseased spiritual plants behind them. These spiritual plants have been invaded by alienated demonic insects and polluted by turbid spiritual energy, causing all kinds of strange symptoms. If you can't find the problem, no matter how much time and energy you spend, you can only watch them become diseased and wither to death. So I have a vague idea. Instead of letting them wait for death quietly, it is better to buy those diseased spiritual plants from the spiritual plant masters at a low price and try to save them. I don't know most of the spiritual planters that Baicaotang works with, so I want Mr. He to connect them and find those diseased spiritual plants for me at a low price. As the manager of Baicaotang, the thin old man is responsible for purchasing and inventorying various elixirs and spiritual plants. Whether they are full-time employed spiritual planters or those who work freely, they are all closely connected. Not to mention, the old man himself had a deep love for Lu Xuan, so he wanted to take this opportunity to repay him. Acquiring diseased spiritual plants. I really don't know what you think, you actually do such a ridiculous thing. Guanxi frowned. Other spiritual plant masters were very secretive about diseased spiritual plants. Before they could hide, Lu Xuan wanted to take the initiative to get in, which puzzled him. Are you sure you can control and treat those diseased spiritual plants? Are you not worried that your own spiritual plants will be implicated and the acquisition will result in a loss? The spiritual plants I plant will definitely be isolated from those diseased spiritual plants and will not be affected. As for purchasing spiritual plants at a low price, I would like to get them for free, but it is probably difficult to do so. After all, spiritual planters spend so much time and energy cultivating spiritual plants. Even if they are diseased, they are still lucky and unlikely to give them up. Give it to others. Of course I can't guarantee a 100% success rate when it comes to treating diseases with spiritual plants. It's only a certain possibility, but it should still be profitable. Lu Xuan said. It's easy to help you connect with those spiritual planters. Most of them probably want to get rid of those diseased spiritual planters. If someone buys them at a low price, they will naturally be willing to stop their losses. But what is your standard for low price? How much is my remuneration? Manager he was obviously a little interested. He looked around and pulled Lu Xuan into a corner. The acquisition standard is probably 10% of the value of mature spiritual plants. There is a certain amount of room for fluctuation depending on the degree of disease and growth status. As for the reward for you old man, it will be calculated directly based on the quantity. 1 spiritual stone for each first-grade spiritual plant, and 4 spiritual stones for each second-grade spiritual plant. What do you think? Lu Xuan's main acquisition targets are first- or second-grade disease spiritual plants. It is estimated that few people in the entire Baichao Hall are planting third-grade spiritual plants, and the quantity is very small. As for the low-grade spiritual plants, their value is extremely low, and there is no light group reward. You can't earn many spiritual stones just by relying on the recovered spiritual plants, so they are not within the scope of his consideration. 1 spirit stone or 4 spirit stones per plant. Guanxue lowered his head and pondered. Then I won't be polite to you, brat. I promise to contact and persuade every spiritual planter in Baichao Hall. It's not because of those few spiritual stones, but simply because of the spiritual plants in their spiritual field. After all, those spiritual plants in Baichao Hall have ownership or priority. It is related to the century-old cause of Baicaotang, and there is no room for negligence. The thin old man said righteously. That's right, for the centenary cause of Baicaotang. Lu Xuan quickly agreed. The two looked at each other and smiled, saying nothing. You sit here for a while, and I'll go see if there are any strange spiritual plants in the medicine garden in the hall. With the opportunity to easily earn spiritual stones, Guanxue became very motivated. Baicaotang has several medicinal gardens under its name, one of which is not far from Baicaotang. There are more than 10 kinds of elixirs suitable for refining elixirs grown in it. Lu Xuan only had a free cooperative relationship with Baicaotang, but the medicine garden was of great importance. He couldn't go in with him, so he had to sit in the hall and wait quietly. The medicine boy who handled the elixir next to him was very discerning, and he diligently brought a cup of steaming elixir tea and a small plate of elixir fruit. The spirit fruit is about the size of a fingertip, lavender in color, with an uneven surface. It looks ordinary, but tastes extremely sweet and delicious. Lu Xuan threw them into his belly one by one, and soon ate most of them. In a spacious medicine garden, the area of the medicine garden is dozens of times larger than the small courtyard owned by Lu Xuan. There is a mountain with a height of tens of feet, and a small river full of spiritual energy lingers at the foot of the mountain. At this time, in the sky above the medicine garden, a white spiritual energy shield covered the entire garden, and spiritual energy flashed across the surface of the shield from time to time. The thin old man took out a wooden sign with strange runes painted on it. The spiritual energy on the shield suddenly gathered. Sensing the aura on the wooden sign, a crack appeared quickly that could allow one person to pass through. While the crack was still open, he entered the medicine garden sideways. He looked around and quickly located a spiritual field not far away. There were 3 spiritual planters gathered around Ling Tian, and they were discussing something intensely. Their faces were all gloomy. How have things been in the past 2 days? No new pathological changes have been found, right? Manager. He walked up to the 3 people and asked. Under the full protection of the second-grade top-level formation, no new diseased spiritual plants have been discovered yet. However, it is not an option to continue like this. The second-grade formation must be maintained day and night to protect such a large area of the medicine garden. The amount of spiritual stones spent is not a small amount. A slightly fat spiritual planter came out and said. How are the diseased spiritual plants discovered before? Have you found any solutions? Manager. He nodded, looked at the 3 people and said. Those diseased spiritual plants have been isolated, but the degree of the disease is getting deeper and deeper, and there is no way to find out the principle of their disease. I can only blindly encounter a dead mouse, relying entirely on luck. There is nothing we can do about it. In the past, Feng City was protected by foundation-building monks and third-grade formations, so similar situations would never happen, so it was difficult to react for a while. In addition, the way evil spirits invade is unpredictable and difficult to guard against. It's already good to be able to defend it well. When the 3 spiritual plant masters heard this, they looked deeply concerned. I have a good friend who is also a spiritual planter. You may also know him. In order to find a way to get rid of the diseased spiritual plants, he wants to buy some spiritual plants that have been contaminated by invasion at a low price. What do you think? The three people's eyes lit up and their minds suddenly became active. The only reason why they were reluctant to part with those diseased spiritual plants was that they did not want to waste their previous efforts. Now they heard that someone wanted to purchase the diseased spiritual plants. Even if the price was not high, there was a new choice. Chapter 68 Big Profits. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Here, these are the diseased spiritual plants I just got for you from the nearby medicine garden. There are 10 plants in total. In the lobby of Baichao Hall, while Lu Xuan was enjoying tea leisurely, he came to him with a cloth bag in each hand. One of the bags contained a spiritual tree that was as tall as a person, with most of it exposed. Many dark insect eyes appeared on the smooth tree, and a faint black air wafted from it from time to time. I'm pretty lucky. There are 9 first-grade ones, 1 second-grade one, and the second-grade one is this white-grained wood. The spiritual planter who owns it tried many methods, but nothing worked, so he had to sell it to me. He placed the cloth bag at Lu Xuan's feet and opened the mouth of the bag. The roots of the 10 diseased spiritual plants were all wrapped in spiritual soil to prevent the little remaining vitality from being lost. Considering that after you cure them, you need to quickly replace them with spiritual stones, so you choose some spiritual plants that are about to mature. The number is not very large. I'm afraid that because you were lucky enough to successfully cure a diseased spiritual plant, you might become obsessed with it and lose your cool, so I'd better get 10 of them first to see the effect. When it is confirmed that you really have the ability to cure diseased spiritual plants, I will help you find them. Thank you, He Lao. Lu Xuan knew that the old man was worried that he would go astray and waste spiritual stones, so he solemnly expressed his gratitude. The 10 diseased spiritual plants he bought were extremely cheap, costing 47 spiritual stones. In addition to the 13 spiritual stones that had to be paid to Guanxi he as a matchmaker, Lu Xuan spent a total of 60 spiritual stones. Normal spiritual plants lose their vitality relatively quickly after being dug out of the spiritual soil, let alone diseased spiritual plants. Lu Xuan didn't stop and hurried back to his yard. After greeting the grass puppet and the cloud-walking lynx, they didn't even have time to enter the house and went directly to their spiritual field. Out of caution, he controlled the kirigakure, and the thick fog filled the air, isolating a blank area of the spiritual field from other spiritual plants to avoid the risk of intrusion and contamination. Immediately, 10 diseased spirit plants were planted into the spirit field. My mind focused on the spiritual plants, and I quickly learned their detailed status and solutions. It can't be cured. It's hopeless. Let's wait to die. He pulled out a spiritual plant whose root was covered with small gray-black tumors. The red thread needle turned into a red thread and pricked all the small tumors. Drops of yellow-black pus flowed out from the wound, which was foul-smelling. Lu Xuan casually used a fireball technique to burn all the spiritual plants into black ashes. I want centennial milk again. It's hopeless. A first-grade spiritual plant actually requires the spiritual power of a foundation-building monk. What the hell is this? A vague and malicious face suddenly appeared on the broad leaf of a blood spirit leaf. Before Lu Xuan could react, the vicious face disappeared silently, as if it was just Lu Xuan's illusion. Pretend to be a ghost. Lu Xuan took out the thunder fire bead from the storage bag. Suddenly, the power of thunder and fire inside the bead slanted out. The flames were blazing and the thunder light jumped, smashing the blood spirit leaf into powder. Then, he took out another evil-dispelling talisman and added the cloud-walking lynx watching eagerly, and then he was sure that there was no trace of evil spirits in the spiritual field. Among the 10 diseased spiritual plants, 4 were directly destroyed by Lu Xuan. They were either already terminally ill and incurable, or the conditions for cure were too high, and the losses outweighed the gains, so Lu Xuan abandoned them casually. As for the remaining 6 plants, they were mainly invaded by alienated demonic insects. After these demonic insects were contaminated and alienated by evil spirits, both their own form and the way they invaded the spiritual plants were completely different from before. Ordinary spiritual planters have no experience. And if it cannot be identified, it will be difficult to solve the problem from the root cause. In addition, there are also spiritual plants that absorb a large amount of contaminated spiritual energy, resulting in pathological changes. The difficulty of these two solutions is relatively low. Lu Xuan cuts the diseased parts of them according to their immediate status, gets rid of the alienated demonic insects that invade the inside of the spiritual plants, and then uses the spiritual rain technique, Muxing technique, etc. to promote the rapid recovery of the spiritual plants. A few days later, the alienation factors in the 6 spiritual plants were resolved. However, the spiritual plants themselves were seriously damaged and it was difficult to restore them to normal levels. That second-grade white-grained wood will take some time to mature. Lu Xuan looked at the 6 spiritual plants that had returned to normal with a satisfied expression. Then, patrol the spiritual field. The 120 fireflies planted have grown to about 2 inches in length. Their leaves are slender and tender green, and their subtle fluorescence flickers, which is really endearing. The second-grade sword grass and dark marrow mushroom are getting closer and closer to maturity. In order to maximize the reward of the white light group, Lu Xuan is not in a hurry to pick them. In the spiritual field area where the first-grade blood jade ginseng was located, Lu Xuan found that as the time for maturity got closer and closer, the blood jade ginseng became more excited and active, and his instinct to seize the similar spiritual energy around him became stronger and stronger. If you don't pay attention, 2, 3, or more blood jade ginseng roots will become entangled together, trying to absorb the spiritual energy from each other's body. Lu Xuan had to focus more on them. After using the earth drawing technique to separate them, he took 5 diseased spiritual plants that were 80% to 90% mature and headed to Baicaotang. As for the second-grade white-grain tree, it was still some time away from maturity, so Lu Xuan planned to cultivate it in the spiritual field first. "Boy Lu, come here quickly." In Baichao Hall, manager he saw Lu Xuan from a distance and greeted him loudly. "How's it going? How many of the 10 diseased spiritual plants have been cured? There's no loss, right? Don't worry when I do things. How can I lose money?" Lu Xuan smiled and took out the 5 slightly ugly spiritual plants from the storage bag. "That's true. You kid only takes advantage of others. How can you ever make yourself lose money?" Guanxi he couldn't help but laugh when he thought of Lu Xuan's previous style. The 5 spiritual plants on the counter made him feel relieved. "With a success rate of more than half, your level has surpassed most of the spiritual planters in the hall. No, it should be said that at least in this aspect, he surpasses all spiritual planters. After all, many of the diseased spiritual plants they cured were relatively mild. The 10 plants you bought last time were only given to you after they tried them." The thin old man sighed. Being able to cultivate perfect quality spiritual plants, and also be able to cure diseased spiritual plants, you are born to be a spiritual planter. Although the 5 spiritual plants have returned to normal, due to previous damage and the short cultivation time by Lu Xuan, the quality is inferior and ordinary. Manager he estimated the price of each spiritual plant. In the end, 5 first-grade spiritual plants brought Lu Xuan 120 spiritual stones. The cost for him to obtain these 10 diseased spiritual plants was 60. After excluding the time, spiritual energy, and evil-dispelling talismans consumed in the past few days, Lu Xuan made a huge profit of dozens of spiritual stones. Not to mention, there is a second-grade white-grain tree in the spiritual field. When it matures, it can be exchanged for many spiritual stones. Lu Xuan weighed the spirit stone in his hand and put it back into his storage bag with satisfaction.